Are you ready to take control of your life and start achieving the goals that truly matter? This audiobook will show you how self-discipline is the key to leading yourself first, mastering your habits, and shaping the future you want. You'll discover practical strategies to build routines, focus your energy, manage emotions, resist distractions, and stay committed to long-term goals. Each chapter provides step-by-step guidance you can apply immediately to see real change in your daily life. By following these actionable insights, you will strengthen your mental resilience, align your actions with purpose, and continuously improve yourself to reach new levels of success. Make sure to subscribe to Audiobook every day for more content that helps you grow, stay disciplined, and unlock your potential. Start leading yourself today and turn intention into consistent action. Number 1. Master habits before seeking leadership. Mastering habits before seeking leadership is not optional. It is the single most reliable way to create the life and influence that leadership requires. Leadership begins with steady behavior that other people can count on. Before convincing anyone to follow an idea, a team, or a vision, the work is simple and inward. Choose actions, repeat them, refine them, and align them with who you want to become. The daily choices that seem small or boring are the quiet architecture of character. When those choices are intentional, leadership becomes an effect of habit rather than a miracle of charisma. Start by recognizing that habits are not merely things you do, they are the shorthand your brain uses to conserve energy. When habits run well, decisions become easier, stress drops, and the space for creative work opens up. When habits run poorly, every day feels like a fight against friction and temptation. The first practical move is a short, honest audit of current habits. For 3 days, record what you actually do from waking until sleep. Note not just activities, but the triggers and feelings tied to them. What time did that task start? What provoked it? And how did it make you feel afterward? This simple map reveals where attention leaks away and where small changes will have the biggest effect. Once habits are visible, design a foundation that prioritizes the few actions that produce the most value. Too many goals dilute focus. Choose 1 or 2 keystone habits, habits that influence other parts of life. Examples include a brief morning routine of movement and planning, a single focused work block each afternoon, or a nightly review that closes the day with clarity. Make the habit obvious and immediately doable. If the goal is to exercise, start with 2 minutes of movement after brushing teeth. If the goal is focused work, start with a single 25-minute block without phone interruptions. The point is to make starting unavoidable and the first step so small it cannot be refused. Use a clear rule to handle the fuzzy moments. An implementation intention. Form a simple if-then statement that removes decision friction. For example, if I enter my home office after lunch, then I will close the door and work for 25 minutes. Or, if my phone buzzes while I am working, then I will silence it and open a 2-minute breathing timer. These short, non-judgmental plans reduce the mental energy wasted on choosing what to do. They create a pathway the mind will follow when willpower is low. Connect habits to identity rather than outcomes. Instead of saying, "I want to lose weight," adopt the identity-driven approach. I am someone who moves daily. Instead of "I want to write a book," think, "I am a writer who writes for 20 minutes each day." Identity-focused language rewires how decisions are judged. Every small action becomes evidence for or against that identity. This shift changes failure from a moral collapse into a simple data point. Did the behavior happen? Why or why not? Then adjust. Environment is an ally if arranged intentionally. Remove friction for desired actions and add friction for unwanted ones. Place running shoes by the bed. Keep the journal next to the toothbrush. Move the phone to another room during work blocks. If distractions are stored within reach, they will be used. If the environment nudges toward the habit is more likely to occur. Design 2 or 3 physical changes that support the chosen keystone habits and commit to keeping them in place for 30 days. This commitment window is not a promise to be perfect. It is a promise to create systems and give them time to show results. Habit stacking is a reliable method to anchor new behaviors. Attach a new habit to an existing, entrenched routine after the routine you already follow. Wash hands, make coffee, open email, add the new micro-habit. For example, after making morning coffee, write 1 sentence in a notebook. After closing the laptop at the end of the day, list 1 lesson learned. The established routine supplies the cue. The new habit rides the established rhythm. Keep the added habit tiny at first. If the new habit feels heavy, shrink it again. Momentum grows from consistency, not from a heroic explosion of effort. Measure progress in simple units. Complexity becomes a trap. Track whether the habit occurred or not, and mark it on a calendar. The visual record itself becomes motivating. Resist overcomplicating measurement with long spreadsheets or daily evaluations. A single checkbox, a line on paper, or a tally in a small notebook is enough to keep the pattern visible. Every marked day strengthens identity and reduces the likelihood of skipping the next day. Accountability amplifies results. Announce a habit to 1 person who cares and will check in. Better yet, create a habit pact or contract. Write the habit, specify the smallest acceptable daily action, and agree on a consequence for breaking the agreement. Consequences can be small and reasonable: a donation to a cause one dislikes, a chore, or a written explanation to the accountability partner. Public commitment leverages social expectations and makes follow-through more likely. Expect and plan for failures. Discipline is not perfection. It is the ability to recover quickly and return to the chosen path. When a habit slips, respond with a short reset ritual. Acknowledge the lapse, note the trigger, choose the smallest possible next action, and begin again. Avoid moralizing the slip with harsh self-criticism. A briefer, clearer restart keeps momentum intact. Create a sentence for resets that is simple and pragmatic. Today interrupted the plan. Tonight I will plan tomorrow's first 2 minutes. Make that restart automatic. Use the 2-minute rule as a daily practice. Any new habit should begin with an action that takes 2 minutes or less. If the habit is reading daily, read 1 paragraph. If the habit is to practice public speaking, record a 30-second clip. The smaller the initial action, the less resistance to begin. Over time, add small increments. 2-minute actions expand when the habit becomes regular. The key is to win the start. Starting reliably beats starting sometimes. Replace bad habits with specific alternatives rather than vague goals. When the urge to scroll social media appears, have a prepared alternative. Stand up and walk to the window, write 1 line in the journal, or call a friend for 1 minute. The old trigger still exists, but the brain will accept the substitute that is immediate and plausible. Train the substitute until it becomes the new default. Capture learning through periodic review. Once a week, run a short 5-minute review. Note what worked, what did not, and 1 adjustment to try the next week. Once a month, do a longer review that looks at trends and whether the keystone habits are producing the intended effects. Reviewing habits turns raw repetition into useful feedback. Use the data to prune what does not work and double down on what produces disproportionate benefits. Cultivate patience through visible time markers. Discipline produces returns slowly. Track time in weeks and months, rather than hours. Celebrate the first 30 days of consistent effort. Celebrate 3 months. These milestones are not gifts for perfection. They are recognition of durability. When focus is directed at meaningful, repeatable actions, the results follow even if they are initially invisible. Finally, lead by example through steady presence. People will notice how calmly decisions get made around you, how commitments are honored, and how small promises to yourself become big promises to others. Leadership requires trust, and trust forms faster when actions match words consistently. Mastery of habit is not a performance to impress others. It is a quiet, daily alignment of behavior and identity. It prepares the mind to accept responsibility, to stay steady under pressure, and to act with clarity when leadership moments arrive. The practical checklist is simple. Audit 3 days of behavior. Pick one keystone habit. Shrink the start to 2 minutes. Create an if-then implementation. Intention. Design 2 environment changes to support the habit. Track daily with a visible mark. Set up 1 accountability check, and schedule weekly reviews. Follow that sequence for 30 days, then reassess and choose the next habit. Repeat this cycle patiently. Discipline is earned by doing the small things repeatedly until they become automatic. That automaticity frees attention for larger challenges, and that freedom is what makes leadership possible. The person who can lead themselves through ordinary days with integrity gains the authority to lead others in difficult ones. Follow the practical steps, treat failure as data, and measure progress in stubborn consistency rather than dramatic bursts. Over time, the habit groundwork will show itself: clearer thinking, steadier emotions, and reliable action. Those are the qualities people follow. Number 2. Define priorities and enforce boundaries. Defining priorities and enforcing boundaries is the foundation of a disciplined, purposeful life. Without clarity about what truly matters, energy diffuses, time slips away, and the most important goals remain unreachable. Priorities act as a compass, guiding every choice, while boundaries protect that compass from the constant noise of obligations, distractions, and other people's expectations. Mastering this skill transforms life from reactive chaos into intentional, directed action. The first step is radical clarity about what deserves attention. Many people drift from task to task, responding to emails, messages, and urgent requests, as if urgency equals importance. Urgency is seductive because it demands immediate attention. But importance is silent. It grows steadily and compounds over time. Begin by listing the areas of life that matter most: career, health, relationships, learning, and personal growth. Within each area, identify the few objectives that have the greatest long-term impact. The goal is to separate the trivial from the essential. Everything outside this list becomes negotiable, something that can be postponed, delegated, or ignored. Once priorities are defined, enforce boundaries to protect them. Boundaries are not restrictions imposed on others. They are agreements with yourself about what behavior, input, and requests are acceptable. A boundary might look like designating specific hours for deep work, refusing to respond to non-urgent messages during that time, or limiting social media to 10 minutes a day. Boundaries create the mental and physical space required to focus on what truly matters. Without them, priorities become meaningless because constant interruptions and competing demands erode consistency. Establishing boundaries requires self-awareness and courage. Begin by noticing where energy leaks occur. What consumes your time without producing meaningful results? Which interactions leave you drained instead of energized? Once these are clear, communicate firm limits. Saying no is not rude. It is a declaration of respect for your own time and objectives. Boundaries do not require elaborate justification. A simple, firm statement such as, "I am focusing on this right now and cannot take that on," sets the tone and reinforces self-discipline. Consistency is key. Every time a boundary is crossed without enforcement, authority over your own life diminishes. Energy management is inseparable from priority setting. High-value work requires concentration, presence, and vigor. Recognize the times of day when your energy peaks and schedule tasks accordingly. Use mornings for demanding cognitive work if that is your natural rhythm. Use afternoons for meetings or less intensive tasks. Protect these windows by communicating them clearly to others and resisting the temptation to fill them with low-priority activities. Energy boundaries are as crucial as time boundaries. No matter how clearly priorities are defined, depleted energy undermines action. Physical space can reinforce priorities and boundaries. Workspaces, living areas, and even digital environments influence behavior subtly but powerfully. Remove clutter that signals distraction and create dedicated zones for focused work. Silence notifications that fragment attention. Place visual reminders of the most important tasks where they cannot be ignored. The environment becomes a constant reinforcement of what matters, making adherence to priorities and boundaries more natural and less taxing. Decision fatigue is a hidden enemy when priorities are unclear. Every choice requires mental energy, and without clear criteria for importance, every decision feels significant, creating unnecessary stress. Priorities act as a filter, allowing rapid evaluation. Does this choice align with my most critical objectives? If yes, it moves forward. If no, it is deferred or declined. Boundaries ensure the mental filter remains intact. For example, if a friend requests an hour-long call during your peak work time, the answer is guided not by guilt, but by alignment with what truly matters. This clarity reduces indecision, strengthens resolve, and conserves cognitive resources for high-impact action. Prioritizing relationships is a subtle but essential application. Not all relationships require equal investment. Invest energy in people who challenge, support, and elevate your growth. Set limits on interactions that drain energy or distract from goals. Defining relational priorities does not mean isolation. It means cultivating selective focus where emotional and intellectual reciprocity exists. Healthy boundaries prevent resentment from accumulating and protect emotional reserves, ensuring that giving and receiving remain balanced and intentional. Long-term projects and habits benefit enormously from boundaries aligned with priorities. Goals like fitness, learning a skill, or building a career trajectory require consistent, repeated effort. Without protected time and space, these projects languish. Break large ambitions into daily or weekly actions, and guard these moments as non-negotiable appointments. When a clear priority meets a firm boundary, action becomes automatic. Momentum grows because the habit loop is protected from external interruptions. Internal dialogue reinforces boundaries and priorities. Many fail to protect themselves because their mind entertains doubt, guilt, or over-responsibility. The inner voice can be trained to support, not sabotage, reframe requests and interruptions. This is important, but not essential right now, or my time is finite, I must honor it. When internal alignment is strong, enforcing boundaries becomes natural, and the emotional strain of saying no diminishes. The mind begins to treat priority protection as non-negotiable, rather than a battle against social expectation. Flexibility is compatible with firm priorities. Boundaries do not mean rigidity. Situations arise where temporary adjustment is necessary, but these adjustments should be conscious, deliberate, and rare. Flexibility without priority alignment leads to compromise without purpose. When exceptions occur, reassert the boundary afterward to prevent erosion. This balance between firm protection and occasional adaptation builds resilience and ensures priorities remain central without cultivating stubborn inflexibility. Review and reflection are the final pillars. Regularly examine whether priorities are respected and boundaries upheld. Reflect on where energy leaks, what adjustments improve focus, and whether actions continue to serve long-term goals. Weekly or monthly reviews provide insight and calibration. These reflections also foster self-respect and confidence. Observing consistent adherence to boundaries strengthens self-trust, which is the core of self-leadership. The person who knows their priorities and protects them becomes a natural decision-maker, a person others look to in moments of complexity. Practical application begins with small, immediate steps. Write down the top 3 priorities for the week. Block time in the calendar for each. Identify one energy-draining task or obligation that can be eliminated or postponed. Communicate one clear boundary to a colleague, friend, or family member. Notice internal resistance and track it without judgment. Repeat daily. The simplicity of the process belies its transformative potential. Consistent application over weeks compounds into clarity, focus, and authority over life's demands. Defining priorities and enforcing boundaries is an act of courage as much as strategy. It requires confronting societal pressure, internalized guilt, and habitual overextension. The payoff is enormous: control over one's attention, energy, and direction. With priorities clear and boundaries firm, life stops being a series of reactive choices and begins as intentional creation. Progress becomes measurable, stress diminishes, and the ability to act with purpose expands dramatically. Ultimately, leadership of self is only possible when priorities guide choices and boundaries safeguard the path. Without this alignment, every achievement risks being shallow, every success diluted by scattered attention. Defining what matters most and protecting it through conscious boundaries creates the inner framework necessary for daily discipline, meaningful productivity, and long-term growth. Through practice, clarity, and consistency, priorities become second nature, boundaries a comfortable strength, and life itself becomes a testament to deliberate, focused action. Those who master this principle gain not only efficiency, but freedom to act decisively, think clearly, and live according to values rather than constant reaction. This mastery transforms the ordinary into steady, purposeful progress and positions anyone to lead themselves first, with confidence and authority that naturally extends outward. Number 3. Control emotions to guide decisions. Emotions are powerful forces that shape every choice, every action, and ultimately the trajectory of a life. They can energize and inspire, but they can also cloud judgment, distort perception, and lead to outcomes that undermine long-term goals. Learning to control emotions is not about suppressing them or pretending they do not exist. It is about recognizing, understanding, and channeling them in a way that supports deliberate, rational decision-making. Decisions guided by clarity rather than impulsive feelings create stability, effectiveness, and respect for oneself and others. The first step in emotional mastery is awareness. Emotions arise continuously, often below the level of conscious thought, but their influence is immediate and profound. Observing emotions without judgment is the starting point. Notice the sensation in the body, the tone of the inner voice, the speed of thought. Is anger tightening the chest, accelerating the heartbeat, or quickening the speech? Does anxiety create a heaviness or restless energy? Recording these sensations in real time or reflecting on them afterward helps create a clear map of emotional patterns. This map forms the foundation for responding instead of reacting. Understanding the triggers behind emotional responses is essential. Emotional reactions rarely appear in isolation. They are usually connected to underlying beliefs, unmet needs, or past experiences. When frustration arises at a missed deadline, is it truly about the task, or does it connect to fear of judgment? When irritation flares during a conversation, is it about the other person, or is it linked to internal expectations and stress? Mapping triggers illuminates the often hidden connections between stimulus and response, giving insight into where control can be applied effectively. Once awareness and understanding are established, practice conscious pausing before responding. Even a few seconds of pause between stimulus and action can change the outcome dramatically. Breathing deeply, counting silently, or stepping back physically creates space to choose a deliberate response. This pause allows reasoning to enter a situation before emotion dictates it. Over time, the pause becomes automatic, a natural buffer that reduces impulsivity and preserves clarity in high-stakes situations. Cognitive reframing enhances emotional control by shifting perspective. Emotions are interpretations of reality filtered through perception. Viewing a setback as a challenge to solve, rather than a personal failure, changes the emotional response entirely. A negative comment becomes data for growth rather than a blow to self-worth. Reframing does not deny feelings, it acknowledges them while changing the narrative to one that encourages constructive action. This process strengthens resilience and reinforces a mindset oriented towards solutions rather than blame or regret. Regulating emotional intensity is another key strategy. High-intensity emotions often drive poor decisions, but intensity can be modulated through deliberate techniques. Physical grounding, such as feeling the feet on the floor, or engaging in controlled breathing, slows the nervous system. Naming the emotion aloud, even silently, reduces its unconscious hold. Journaling thoughts as they arise externalizes mental turbulence and allows for structured processing. These strategies diminish the urgency that emotions can impose, leaving room for rational choice. Emotional intelligence is cultivated by observing patterns over time. Reflect on past decisions and the emotional states that influence them. Identify moments when impulsivity led to mistakes and when deliberate control improved outcomes. Use this reflection to establish rules for future behavior. For instance, committing to avoid major financial decisions when feeling highly excited or frustrated ensures better judgment. The retrospective analysis strengthens foresight and promotes an internal guide for navigating emotionally charged situations. Stress management supports emotional regulation. Chronic stress amplifies reactive tendencies, diminishes patience, and makes it harder to act intentionally. Incorporating routines for physical activity, mindfulness, adequate sleep, and mental rest maintains baseline equilibrium. When the nervous system is balanced, emotional responses remain proportional to situations, reducing the likelihood of disproportionate reactions. This stability is crucial for decisions that require composure and long-term thinking. Empathy and perspective-taking improve control by reducing emotional entanglement. Understanding the emotions and motivations of others prevents reactive behavior driven by misinterpretation. Seeing a colleague's criticism as an expression of their pressure rather than a personal attack creates distance from immediate emotional impulses. This broader perspective fosters calm, measured responses and often de-escalates potential conflict before it escalates. Practice setting clear decision-making criteria that act as guardrails during emotional turbulence. Define in advance the principles, standards, and priorities that govern choices. When an emotionally charged situation arises, consult these criteria rather than the immediate feeling. If a decision must reflect integrity, patience, and long-term value, the emotional surge becomes data, not directive. Consistently applying predefined principles strengthens the habit of reasoned action, even under pressure. Communicate emotions constructively. rather than allowing them to dominate behavior. Expressing feelings with clarity, ownership, and respect prevents escalation and creates channels for resolution. Use I statements to convey personal experience without attributing blame, such as "I feel concerned when deadlines shift unexpectedly," rather than "you made me frustrated." Controlled expression avoids reactive arguments and preserves decision-making clarity while maintaining relationships. Anticipate emotional responses before critical decisions. Mental simulation prepares the mind for probable triggers. Before a difficult conversation or major negotiation, visualize potential emotional reactions and plan responses that align with values and priorities. This foresight reduces surprises, strengthens self-command, and ensures actions match long-term objectives rather than immediate impulses. Routine reflection reinforces emotional mastery. Journaling or mental review of the day's experiences allows evaluation of decisions, emotional patterns, and outcomes. Ask questions like, "What emotion influenced my choice? Did it serve my goal or undermine it? How could the response be improved next time?" This ongoing audit strengthens self-awareness and creates a feedback loop for continual improvement. Physical health directly affects emotional regulation. Nutrition, hydration, movement, and sleep influence neurotransmitters, energy levels, and cognitive function. Neglecting the body increases volatility and emotional response. Maintaining consistent physical care is a non-negotiable support system for self-leadership. The mind and body are inseparable. Emotional control thrives when both are nurtured. Accountability enhances consistency. Discussing decision-making patterns with a trusted mentor or peer provides perspective, external feedback, and reinforcement. This social framework highlights blind spots that may be missed in introspection and strengthens the commitment to act with deliberate calm rather than reactive intensity. Sharing the process creates both responsibility and motivation to maintain standards. Emotional mastery is a lifelong skill, not a one-time achievement. Practice daily, integrate techniques into routines, and treat every emotionally charged moment as an opportunity for growth. Begin small, with micro-decisions like responding calmly to minor frustrations, and expand to higher-stakes situations. Over time, the practice creates automaticity, allowing rationality to guide even the most intense scenarios. The final layer is integration. When emotions are understood, regulated, and intentionally directed, they become allies rather than obstacles. Passion fuels persistence. Caution prevents recklessness. Empathy guides collaboration. By mastering the internal landscape, every decision becomes a reflection of conscious choice rather than emotional impulse. This mastery of emotion fosters clarity, confidence, and the capacity to lead oneself through complexity, pressure, and uncertainty. Practical application begins with immediate actions. Record emotional reactions for 3 consecutive days, noting triggers, intensity, and consequences. Identify patterns and the most disruptive emotions. Select one high-impact situation per week to practice controlled response using a pause or grounding technique. Establish a simple rule for emotionally charged decisions, such as waiting 15 minutes before responding. Incorporate brief daily reflection to consolidate learning and maintain awareness. The repetition of these steps builds resilience, reduces regret, and ensures decision-making is guided by insight rather than instinct alone. Ultimately, controlling emotions is the cornerstone of self-leadership. Decisions shaped by calm, clarity, and purpose create outcomes aligned with values, long-term goals, and personal integrity. The individual who masters this skill is not immune to feeling. They experience life fully, but they are empowered to act in ways that reinforce their objectives, relationships, and growth. Emotional control transforms the mind from a reactive machine into a disciplined instrument for strategic action, enabling self-direction, stability, and sustained achievement across all areas of life. Number 4. Build routines that ensure consistency. Consistency is the silent force behind every meaningful achievement. Without it, talent, intention, and ambition fade into sporadic bursts that rarely create lasting impact. Routines are the structures that generate consistency. They transform effort into habit, reduce the mental friction of decision-making, and provide the steady rhythm necessary for growth and productivity. Building routines is not about rigid schedules or robotic repetition. It is about crafting a framework that aligns daily action with long-term objectives, ensuring progress is inevitable rather than incidental. The starting point is identifying the areas where consistency is most valuable. These are the domains that compound over time: personal growth, health, skill development, professional responsibilities, and meaningful relationships. Examine where lapses have historically hindered progress. Is exercise irregular? Are mornings chaotic, leading to wasted energy? Are creative projects neglected for lack of structure? Pinpointing these gaps allows routines to be designed with maximum impact, addressing the points where inconsistency has caused the greatest setbacks. Once the focus areas are clear, routines must be designed around natural patterns of energy and attention. Peak energy hours should be dedicated to high-value tasks that require concentration and creativity. Less demanding tasks can occupy periods of lower energy, preserving mental reserves for the work that truly drives progress. This alignment minimizes resistance and increases the likelihood of adherence. Observing personal energy rhythms over several days provides insight into when to schedule work, exercise, learning, and reflection for optimal effectiveness. Start with small, repeatable actions that are easy to sustain. Large, overwhelming routines are difficult to maintain and often lead to early abandonment. By contrast, micro-routines, simple, consistent behaviors repeated daily, build momentum gradually. For example, writing for 10 minutes each morning, performing 5 minutes of stretching, or reviewing a single priority list can establish the core framework for larger, more ambitious routines. The key is to ensure the starting point is realistic, creating a sense of accomplishment and reinforcing the habit loop. Anchoring new routines to existing behaviors increases adherence. This technique, known as habit stacking, leverages existing neural pathways, making new behaviors easier to integrate. For instance, following the act of brushing teeth with a short meditation, or after making morning coffee, reading a page from a book. Linking routines to already established habits reduces decision fatigue, creating automaticity in behavior. This approach allows the brain to conserve energy while reinforcing progress in meaningful areas of life. Clarity is essential when building routines. Every action within a routine should have a purpose and measurable outcome. Vague intentions, such as exercise more or be more productive, are insufficient. Specify what will be done for how long and under what conditions. For example, run for 20 minutes on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m. or spend 30 minutes reviewing professional skills at the desk from 6:30 to 7 p.m. Precision reduces uncertainty and strengthens the likelihood of execution. Consistency also requires environmental support. Design spaces that encourage routine adherence and reduce friction. Place workout clothes where they are immediately visible. Keep journals or notebooks ready on the desk. Silence digital distractions during designated work blocks, and arrange living spaces to signal the intended behavior. Environmental cues function as constant reminders and make following routines intuitive. When the surroundings align with the desired behavior, resistance decreases and continuity strengthens. Tracking progress is another critical element. Use visual markers such as calendars, checklists, or habit tracking apps to reinforce accomplishment and provide immediate feedback. Seeing progress accumulate over days and weeks reinforces motivation and makes lapses more noticeable. Tracking does not merely measure activity, it reinforces identity. The visual evidence of regular action solidifies the self-perception of being disciplined, organized, and committed, which further enhances adherence to routines. Accountability enhances consistency. Sharing progress with a trusted individual or community creates external reinforcement, increasing the likelihood of maintaining routines. Knowing that someone will check in encourages diligence and discourages rationalizations that might otherwise undermine effort. Accountability need not be punitive, it can be supportive, providing guidance and encouragement when obstacles arise. Sharing routines and goals cultivates responsibility and strengthens commitment. Flexibility is essential within structure. Routines are frameworks, not cages. Life introduces unexpected demands, interruptions, and opportunities. Building routines that allow for controlled flexibility ensures that consistency persists even during disruption. Substitute or adjust elements temporarily rather than abandoning the routine entirely. For instance, if a morning run is impossible, perform a short home workout instead. Flexibility prevents discouragement and preserves long-term adherence without compromising the core objectives of the routine. Reflection and refinement are ongoing processes. Evaluate routines periodically to determine effectiveness, efficiency, and alignment with evolving goals. Ask whether each action within the routine produces meaningful results and whether the timing or sequencing can be improved. Routine review enables adaptation to changing circumstances and ensures continued relevance. It prevents stagnation and keeps behavior aligned with the highest priorities. Over time, this reflective approach creates an evolving structure that optimizes productivity and personal development. Integration of routines across multiple domains magnifies their impact. Consistent morning habits enhance physical energy, emotional clarity, and cognitive readiness, creating momentum for professional work, learning, and relationships. Evening routines consolidate reflection, planning, and recovery, reinforcing the cycle of discipline. By connecting routines in this manner, small daily actions compound, producing exponential results over months and years. Consistency across complementary areas accelerates growth and strengthens self-leadership. Resilience is cultivated through adherence to routine, particularly during challenging periods. External circumstances will vary, but routines create stability and predictability that anchor behavior. They provide a reliable framework during stress, uncertainty, or fatigue. Even minimal adherence, writing a single paragraph, performing a brief stretch, maintains the rhythm and prevents regression. In this way, routines are not merely productivity tools, they are instruments of emotional and mental stability. Building routines also reinforces self-trust. Each completed repetition is evidence of reliability, discipline, and commitment. Over time, the accumulation of consistent actions strengthens confidence, reduces procrastination, and creates internal authority. Individuals learn to depend on themselves, knowing that deliberate, repeated effort will produce results. This self-trust is the core of self-leadership, allowing for decisive action, steady focus, and resilience in the face of challenges. Practical steps for constructing effective routines include identifying high-impact areas, selecting micro-actions that are immediately achievable, anchoring them to existing habits, specifying precise actions and timings, arranging the environment to support adherence, tracking each occurrence visually, introducing accountability, allowing measured flexibility, and performing regular reflection for refinement. Repeating this cycle gradually builds durable patterns of behavior that are difficult to disrupt. The cumulative effect of consistent routines manifests in reliability, clarity, and achievement. Individuals who adhere to well-designed routines make decisions more efficiently, conserve energy, and navigate life with a sense of control. Momentum builds naturally, reinforcing both confidence and competence. Success becomes less about occasional bursts of effort and more about continuous, measured progress guided by deliberate repetition. Consistency is not achieved through motivation alone. Motivation fluctuates, often driven by mood, excitement, or external stimuli. Routines, however, operate independently of transient emotion. They create automatic pathways that require minimal conscious effort, allowing action even when motivation is low. This independence is essential for building mastery, achieving long-term objectives, and maintaining progress despite inevitable obstacles. Ultimately, routines serve as the scaffolding for a disciplined life. They convert intention into action, prevent drift, and ensure that progress continues daily. By embedding high-value behaviors into repeatable structures, individuals create a foundation for growth, resilience, and leadership. The act of building and maintaining routines is itself an exercise in self-leadership, reinforcing habits, focus, and accountability. Over time, these routines form the rhythm of a life lived deliberately, ensuring that goals are met not through luck or sporadic effort, but through steady, consistent, and intentional action. Starting immediately, select one high-priority area. Define a minimal but meaningful action. Attach it to a current habit, schedule it at a time of peak energy, and track completion visually. Maintain this for 30 days, then expand to additional areas, building a network of routines that support physical health, cognitive growth, emotional stability, and professional achievement. This disciplined architecture of daily action transforms potential into results, making consistency the cornerstone of self-leadership and personal mastery. Number 5. Focus energy on personal growth. Personal growth is the most important investment anyone can make because it determines the trajectory of every aspect of life. Focusing energy on growth is not a matter of occasional self-improvement or random learning. It is a deliberate commitment to expand capabilities, sharpen the mind, and refine character consistently. The energy spent on personal development compounds over time, producing clarity, confidence, and resilience that permeates decisions, relationships, and opportunities. Without this focus, even the most favorable circumstances remain underutilized. The first step in directing energy toward personal growth is identifying areas with the highest potential for impact. Growth is multidimensional: mental, emotional, physical, social, and professional, and each area contributes differently depending on individual goals. Conduct a careful evaluation which skills, knowledge, or habits, if developed, would create the largest leverage in your life. For example, improving communication skills may enhance relationships and career simultaneously, whereas cultivating emotional resilience might protect against stress and improve decision-making. Understanding where effort produces disproportionate benefits allows for intentional allocation of energy rather than scattered attempts at improvement. Intentional focus requires conscious selection and avoidance. Distractions, whether digital, social, or environmental, compete for attention and dilute progress. Begin by auditing time and attention over several days. Note activities that consume energy without adding growth, such as passive scrolling, unnecessary multitasking, or low-value obligations. Removing or reducing these drains liberates energy for high-impact development. Energy is finite. Each unit directed toward meaningful growth has greater long-term value than hours spent reacting to external demands. Setting precise growth objectives transforms intention into action. Vague aspirations like learn more or improve myself lack measurable direction. Define specific, actionable goals. Read one book per month on relevant subjects. Attend a skill-building workshop. Practice a new ability for a set number of hours each week. Clear objectives create a roadmap for progress, allowing energy to be concentrated and evaluated systematically. Progress becomes visible, reinforcing discipline and motivation. Daily routines that incorporate growth activities are essential for maintaining momentum. The human mind favors habitual behaviors because they reduce decision fatigue. Embed growth into consistent patterns. Schedule focused study, reflective journaling, or deliberate practice into the daily rhythm. Small, repeated actions accumulate, producing transformation over time. Even 10 minutes of focused effort daily, repeated consistently, compounds into substantial advancement in months and years. Consistency is more critical than duration or intensity. Mentorship and guidance accelerate growth by providing direction, feedback, and accountability. Seek individuals who have achieved the outcomes you aspire to reach. Observe their methods, absorb their insights, and test their advice in practice. Mentorship shortens the learning curve, prevents common mistakes, and illuminates strategies that might otherwise take years to discover. Constructive feedback from trusted sources strengthens awareness of blind spots and reinforces disciplined progress. Reflection is a critical companion to action. Growth is not simply about accumulation of knowledge or experience. It requires understanding and integration. Allocate time to evaluate accomplishments, failures, and lessons learned. What behaviors advanced development? Which actions were counterproductive? How did mindset influence outcomes? Regular reflection transforms experience into wisdom and ensures energy is continuously directed toward meaningful improvement rather than repetitive trial and error. Intellectual curiosity fuels personal growth. Exposure to new ideas, perspectives, and disciplines expands the mind's capacity to adapt, solve problems, and innovate. Read widely, explore unfamiliar subjects, engage with thought leaders, and challenge existing assumptions. Growth arises from confronting complexity and ambiguity, not from repeating familiar patterns. Intellectual expansion is amplified when applied practically. Experiment with concepts in daily life, implement insights in projects, or discuss ideas with peers to solidify understanding. Emotional and mental resilience are indispensable for sustained growth. Challenges, setbacks, and failures are inevitable, but they become powerful catalysts when met with composure and determination. Techniques such as mindfulness, meditation, or structured reflection help manage stress and preserve focus. When mental and emotional resources are regulated, energy is preserved for learning and application rather than being dissipated in reactive or destructive responses. Resilience converts obstacles into structured opportunities for advancement. Physical health supports growth by sustaining energy, focus, and endurance. A neglected body limits capacity for concentrated effort, cognitive clarity, and resilience. Regular exercise, sufficient rest, proper nutrition, and hydration are essential foundations for sustained development. Physical vitality enables consistent action, accelerates recovery from setbacks, and enhances overall effectiveness in applying growth strategies. Treating the body as a partner in personal growth reinforces the interconnectedness of physical, mental, and emotional development. Strategic focus prevents scattering energy across too many initiatives simultaneously. Attempting to improve in too many areas at once often results in superficial progress. Identify one or two key domains, commit concentrated effort, and achieve competence before expanding. Depth of skill and knowledge creates confidence and measurable advancement. Once a foundation is established, branching into additional areas becomes more efficient, as skills, habits, and mindset from one domain often enhance development in another. Tracking progress ensures effort is directed effectively and provides tangible evidence of improvement. Use simple, observable measures: hours spent practicing, tasks completed, skills acquired, or performance evaluations. Regular tracking illuminates trends, identifies gaps, and reinforces accountability. Visual feedback such as checklists, journals, or charts motivates continued focus by making the otherwise invisible accumulation of effort apparent. Momentum grows when the results of energy invested are concrete and visible. Learning from failure is essential. Setbacks are inevitable, yet they provide raw material for improvement. Analyze mistakes objectively. What assumptions were incorrect? What skills or knowledge were lacking? How can the response be improved? Treat failures as data, not personal inadequacy. The ability to extract lessons from adversity accelerates growth and prevents repeating avoidable errors. Over time, failures become stepping stones rather than obstacles, further amplifying energy directed toward development. Intentional exposure to challenge expands capabilities beyond comfort zones. Growth rarely occurs when action is comfortable or routine. Seek experiences that stretch abilities, whether through difficult projects, new environments, or complex problem solving. Challenge triggers adaptation, forces creativity, and strengthens perseverance. Controlled, purposeful exposure to difficulty ensures that energy is applied to opportunities that yield disproportionate growth rather than wasted on safe, low-impact activity. Accountability structures reinforce focus. Sharing growth objectives with mentors, peers, or supportive communities ensures commitments are honored. External accountability increases consistency, provides feedback, and encourages sustained effort. Additionally, teaching or mentoring others strengthens understanding and reinforces personal development, turning learned skills into deeper mastery. Sharing knowledge and progress integrates growth into a broader context and enhances its impact. Energy management amplifies the effectiveness of personal growth efforts. High-quality focus and intentional action depend on adequate rest, structured work blocks, and minimized distractions. Recognize energy peaks and valleys, scheduling demanding growth activities when alert and motivated. Avoid multitasking during skill acquisition, as divided attention reduces learning efficiency. By aligning personal energy with developmental priorities, the same amount of time produces far greater advancement. Personal growth is inherently iterative. Each step provides insight, each application creates skill, and each reflection refines approach. Progress is rarely linear. Expect periods of rapid improvement interspersed with plateaus. Persistence, consistency, and intentional focus allow momentum to accumulate despite fluctuations. Growth becomes a natural consequence of disciplined energy allocation, strategic focus, and continuous adaptation. Ultimately, focusing energy on personal growth is a deliberate choice to take responsibility for one's potential. It requires clarity of purpose, structured routines, reflection, and the courage to confront discomfort. Energy invested wisely compounds over time, producing abilities, resilience, and insight that shape life trajectories. Individuals who cultivate this focus gain not only competence, but self-mastery, enabling confident decision-making, purposeful action, and leadership over their own destiny. Personal growth becomes the engine that drives long-term achievement, stability, and fulfillment, turning effort into sustained transformation that is both visible and enduring. Practical application begins with identifying one growth domain, defining a specific action to pursue daily, scheduling it at an optimal time, tracking progress visibly, reflecting weekly, seeking feedback or mentorship, and incrementally expanding focus to additional areas. Repeating this process consistently transforms energy into measurable, cumulative advancement, ensuring that every action contributes to the continuous evolution of skill, character, and capability. This deliberate investment creates momentum that powers success in every dimension of life. Number 6. Commit daily to long-term goals. Committing daily to long-term goals is the cornerstone of achieving anything meaningful. Goals, when pursued sporadically, remain ideas and intentions, rarely transforming into tangible results. The bridge between aspiration and accomplishment is daily, disciplined action. It is not occasional bursts of effort that produce lasting impact, but the persistent, steady commitment applied consistently over time. Each day's choices, no matter how small, accumulate, forming a trajectory toward outcomes that initially seem distant or overwhelming. The process begins by clearly defining long-term objectives. A goal without clarity is like a map without a destination. It allows movement, but not purposeful progress. Break the long-term vision into concrete terms. What does success look like in measurable, observable ways? For instance, instead of vaguely aiming to be healthier, define specific outcomes, such as running 5 kilometers without stopping, achieving a particular strength milestone, or following a consistent nutrition plan. Precision ensures that every daily action can be evaluated in relation to the ultimate goal. Once clarity is established, the next step is structuring daily habits around these goals. Daily commitment does not require grand gestures. It demands consistent, intentional actions aligned with the long-term vision. If the goal is financial independence, daily tasks might include budgeting, reviewing expenses, or setting aside a fixed amount for investment. If the goal is skill mastery, daily practice, reflection, and refinement are essential. Consistency transforms small repetitive actions into powerful compounding results, where the cumulative effect becomes evident over weeks, months, and years. Momentum is built through micro-actions. The mind often resists large, intimidating objectives, but breaking them into achievable daily steps reduces psychological resistance. Each completed micro-action generates a sense of progress, reinforces self-discipline, and strengthens confidence in the process. For example, writing a single paragraph each day contributes to completing a book over time, while 30 minutes of focused study daily leads to mastery in months. Momentum is created not through quantity in any single day, but through the unwavering repetition of aligned actions. Maintaining focus on long-term goals requires filtering distractions. Life is filled with competing demands, immediate gratifications, and external pressures that can divert energy from what matters most. Evaluate each activity through the lens of contribution to the ultimate objective. Ask whether the time invested today moves the needle toward the defined outcome. If not, defer, delegate, or eliminate it. Every day offers finite energy and attention. Protecting them ensures that each choice reinforces progress rather than diffuses it. Visualization strengthens commitment by providing a tangible connection to the goal. Imagine the completion of the long-term objective in sensory detail, the sights, sounds, feelings, and sense of accomplishment. This mental rehearsal generates motivation, primes the brain for action, and reinforces the relevance of daily effort. When emotions and sensory experiences are tied to outcomes, the mind naturally prioritizes behaviors that support achievement, making adherence to daily tasks more compelling and consistent. Daily reflection enhances the effectiveness of commitment. Take time each evening to review actions, assess progress, and identify lessons. What steps moved the goal forward? What obstacles emerged? And how can they be addressed tomorrow? Reflection transforms repetitive effort into intentional learning, preventing stagnation and reinforcing adaptability. It allows for correction without delay, ensuring that each day's energy is invested efficiently. Accountability amplifies persistence. Sharing long-term goals with a trusted individual or group creates external reinforcement, increasing adherence to daily actions. Mentors, peers, or supportive communities provide feedback, encouragement, and perspective, reducing the risk of abandoning objectives due to short-term difficulties. Accountability converts personal commitment into a social contract, further anchoring daily effort in tangible responsibility. Resilience is essential when committing daily to long-term goals. Progress is rarely linear. Setbacks, delays, and failures are inevitable. Resilience is cultivated through preparation and mindset. Anticipate obstacles and plan how to navigate them without abandoning the routine. Recognize that temporary setbacks are not defeat, but data opportunities to adjust strategies, strengthen habits, and refine approach. Long-term objectives reward persistence and adaptation more than speed or perfection. Time management is a critical tool in sustaining daily commitment. Prioritize actions that yield the highest impact, schedule them during peak energy periods, and guard these windows against distractions. Structured time allocation ensures that the majority of daily energy is directed toward meaningful progress. Without intentional planning, effort often drifts into reactive or low-value activities, undermining the potential to achieve the long-term goal. Celebrate incremental progress to reinforce commitment. Acknowledge milestones, however small, as evidence that consistent effort produces results. Celebrations do not require extravagance. Simple recognition of completed tasks, visible tracking of progress, or brief personal reflection suffices. Positive reinforcement strengthens adherence by creating intrinsic motivation linked to observable outcomes, maintaining engagement over the extended time frame required for long-term achievement. Flexibility within structure ensures continuity during unforeseen circumstances. Daily commitment does not mean rigidity. Life introduces disruptions that must be managed intelligently. Adjust schedules or substitute equivalent actions when necessary, preserving the momentum of progress without sacrificing the integrity of the long-term objective. Controlled flexibility prevents discouragement and ensures continuity even in challenging conditions, reinforcing the habit of persistence. Energy management underpins the ability to commit consistently. Adequate sleep, nutrition, physical activity, and mental recovery are essential for sustaining focus, clarity, and perseverance. Depleted energy diminishes judgment and reduces adherence to planned actions, allowing distractions or avoidance to dominate. Prioritizing personal resources ensures that daily efforts are executed effectively, producing meaningful advancement rather than incomplete or ineffective attempts. Tracking progress quantitatively strengthens accountability and visibility. Maintain a log of actions, milestones, and outcomes. Visual representation such as a calendar, checklist, or digital tracker reinforces the accumulation of effort and highlights patterns requiring adjustment. Consistent tracking converts abstract goals into measurable progress, making the pathway tangible and motivating persistence. Mindset shapes the durability of commitment. Approaching long-term goals with a growth-oriented perspective emphasizes learning, adaptation, and patience. Challenges are viewed as opportunities to refine skills, strategies, and resilience. Each day's effort is understood as part of a cumulative trajectory rather than immediate gratification. This perspective prevents discouragement when outcomes are not instantaneous and strengthens determination to continue acting consistently. Integration of goals into daily life enhances alignment and reduces cognitive friction. Embed actions directly into routines, associating them with established habits to ensure they are performed automatically. For example, reviewing study materials immediately after morning coffee, or performing a skill-building exercise following a daily walk. This integration makes adherence natural, reduces reliance on motivation alone, and ensures that effort persists regardless of emotional fluctuations. Accountable reflection combined with adaptive planning creates a feedback loop that accelerates progress. At regular intervals, evaluate whether the daily actions produce meaningful advancement, identify inefficiencies, and modify the approach. Continuous adjustment based on observed results ensures that long-term goals are approached strategically, maximizing the impact of each day's commitment. Ultimately, committing daily to long-term goals is an exercise in self-leadership. Each action, repeated consistently, strengthens discipline, reinforces focus, and cultivates resilience. Over time, this disciplined approach transforms ambitions into tangible achievements, demonstrating that sustained, deliberate effort is more powerful than occasional bursts of intensity. The individual who invests energy consistently experiences compounded growth, evolving not only in skill and knowledge, but in character, self-trust, and the capacity to navigate complexity with purpose. Practical steps to implement this commitment include defining clear objectives, breaking them into daily actions, scheduling tasks at peak energy periods, tracking progress visually, reflecting regularly, integrating tasks into routines, anticipating obstacles, and maintaining flexibility. Adherence to these steps creates a structure where each day contributes directly to the ultimate goal, ensuring momentum, alignment, and measurable progress. Over time, the habit of daily commitment becomes automatic, transforming effort into consistent advancement and shaping a trajectory that turns aspiration into accomplishment. Number 7. Resist distractions. Strengthen mental resilience. Distractions are one of the greatest obstacles to personal achievement and sustained focus. Every day, the mind is pulled in countless directions, from notifications and social media to external demands and internal chatter. Succumbing to these interruptions not only wastes time, but also fragments attention, diminishes efficiency, and erodes the ability to think deeply. Resisting distractions is not simply an act of willpower, it is a strategic approach that preserves mental energy and creates the foundation for meaningful accomplishment. The first step in resisting distractions is awareness. Before one can control external stimuli, it is necessary to understand where attention is being lost. Track daily activities for several days, noting moments when focus shifts away from priority tasks. Identify patterns. Are distractions primarily digital, social, emotional, or environmental? Recognizing these patterns creates insight into vulnerabilities and informs deliberate strategies to manage them. Self-observation turns unconscious drift into conscious choice. Environmental design plays a crucial role in limiting distractions. Spaces influence behavior more than most people realize. A cluttered desk, a noisy room, or an accessible phone constantly invite interruptions. Organize physical surroundings to support focus. Remove unnecessary items. Designate areas for specific activities, and control lighting and noise levels to create a conducive atmosphere. Digital environments require similar attention. Disable notifications, organize files for easy access, and use applications that minimize interruptions. By controlling surroundings, the mind can direct energy toward deliberate action rather than constant reaction. Mental discipline is cultivated through deliberate practice. Focus is a skill that can be trained. Much like a muscle, begin with short intervals of concentrated effort, gradually extending the duration as endurance builds. Techniques such as the Pomodoro method, where work is segmented into focused intervals with planned breaks, reinforce sustained attention. Each session strengthens the ability to resist the impulse to switch tasks, creating long-term improvements in concentration. Emotional regulation is integral to resisting distractions. Many diversions exploit feelings of boredom, frustration, or anxiety. Recognize these emotional triggers and address them consciously rather than acting impulsively. When boredom arises during a task, notice the sensation without judgment and redirect attention to the work at hand. Anxiety or restlessness can be mitigated through controlled breathing or brief mindfulness exercises, restoring focus. Emotional awareness converts potential interruptions into manageable experiences rather than disruptive forces. Goal clarity supports the ability to resist distractions. When the purpose of each action is understood and compelling, the mind naturally prioritizes it over low-value interruptions. Establish specific, meaningful objectives for each work session, aligning them with broader life or career goals. When priorities are visible and compelling, external noise loses significance and focus is anchored to outcomes rather than immediate gratification. Goals serve as an internal compass, guiding attention in the midst of potential diversion. Routine reinforces mental resilience by providing structure and predictability. Daily schedules reduce decision fatigue, which often leads to susceptibility to distraction. Allocate designated times for focused work, social interactions, and leisure. By embedding high-value tasks into habitual patterns, the mind becomes conditioned to direct energy toward them automatically. Consistency and routine builds endurance for focus, allowing sustained effort over time without relying solely on motivation or willpower. Mindfulness enhances control over attention. Practicing awareness of the present moment strengthens the ability to recognize when the mind drifts and redirect it intentionally. Simple exercises, such as observing breathing or sensations in the body, train cognitive control and improve attention span. Mindfulness also reduces the influence of intrusive thoughts that often lead to distraction, creating a mental environment conducive to sustained, purposeful action. Resilience develops through deliberate exposure to challenge. Focus is tested when demands compete for attention or when circumstances are uncomfortable. Deliberately practicing concentration under such conditions strengthens mental endurance. For example, working in a noisy environment, resisting habitual phone checks, or delaying gratification cultivates a capacity to maintain focus despite interference. Over time, repeated exposure builds tolerance to distractions and increases persistence. Strategic planning reduces vulnerability to interruptions. Anticipate potential disruptions and create contingencies. Identify periods of high cognitive load and plan them for distraction-free environments. Set clear boundaries with colleagues, family, or peers regarding uninterrupted work time. Communicate expectations regarding availability and engagement, ensuring external factors do not compromise focus. Anticipation transforms reactive behavior into proactive control. Reflection consolidates progress in resisting distractions and strengthening resilience. Regularly evaluate moments of lost focus, analyzing triggers, emotional states, and environmental factors. Determine strategies that were effective and identify areas for improvement. Reflection. Transform experience into actionable insight, reinforcing the development of habits that support sustained attention and persistence. The practice of review creates continuous refinement and improvement in mental discipline. Physical health underpins mental resilience. Fatigue, poor nutrition, and inadequate rest impair concentration, increase susceptibility to temptation, and reduce patience. Maintaining regular sleep schedules, balanced nutrition, and consistent physical activity enhances cognitive function, emotional stability, and stamina for sustained effort. The mind's capacity to resist distractions is directly linked to the body's condition, making self-care a non-negotiable component of disciplined focus. Incremental progress strengthens both attention and resilience. Rather than attempting perfect focus for extended periods immediately, begin with achievable durations, gradually increasing the challenge. Each success builds confidence and reinforces the neural pathways that support sustained concentration. The compounding effect of repeated, successful attempts creates enduring mental endurance, making longer periods of focused work increasingly natural. Accountability mechanisms reinforce consistency. Share focus goals with trusted partners, mentors, or supportive communities. Reporting progress externally increases commitment and discourages yielding to trivial interruptions. Accountability transforms private discipline into a structured system of reinforcement, heightening adherence to priorities and strengthening resolve under pressure. Decision-making frameworks help guard against mental distraction. Predefined criteria for prioritizing tasks and responses reduce cognitive drift and impulsive choices. Knowing which actions are aligned with long-term goals allows rapid evaluation when multiple demands arise. Frameworks provide a mental shortcut, reducing susceptibility to distractions and improving efficiency in complex or high-pressure environments. Curiosity and intentional engagement prevent passive susceptibility to diversion. Engaging actively with the task at hand through questioning, problem-solving, or creative exploration reduces mental drift and promotes intrinsic motivation. When the mind is fully engaged, the appeal of irrelevant stimuli diminishes, reinforcing sustained focus. Active engagement transforms work from a passive experience vulnerable to interruption into an absorbing endeavor that naturally commands attention. Consistency over time solidifies resistance to distraction. Daily practice in maintaining focus, managing interruptions, and strengthening mental resilience compounds into enduring skill. The cumulative effect is a mind capable of sustained effort under varying circumstances, able to navigate competing demands without compromise to priority objectives. Strengthened resilience enables endurance in challenging situations, reduces stress, and enhances decision-making clarity. Ultimately, resisting distractions and strengthening mental resilience is a deliberate, ongoing practice. It integrates environmental design, emotional regulation, goal clarity, structured routines, mindfulness, physical health, and reflection into a coherent system. Daily application creates a mind capable of sustained attention, strategic action, and unwavering persistence. Those who master this practice gain control over time, energy, and focus, producing consistent progress in the pursuit of personal growth, productivity, and meaningful achievement. Practical application begins with identifying the primary sources of distraction, designing a supportive environment, establishing micro-intervals of focused activity, practicing mindfulness, creating routines, and reflecting on effectiveness. Incorporate accountability, maintain physical well-being, anticipate challenges, and gradually extend the duration and intensity of focused work. Over time, these strategies compound, cultivating a disciplined mind that resists distractions, adapts to challenges, and sustains high levels of performance regardless of external pressures. Number 8. Align actions with clear purpose. Every action taken in life carries consequences, both visible and unseen, shaping the trajectory of personal growth, relationships, and achievements. Actions without purpose often result in wasted energy, missed opportunities, and stagnation. Aligning every behavior with a clear purpose transforms effort into meaningful progress, creating momentum that compounds over time. Purpose provides direction, focus, and motivation, ensuring that energy is spent intentionally rather than scattered across distractions or low-value activities. The foundation of alignment is clarity of purpose. Understanding the why behind each action gives it weight and significance. This clarity begins with introspection. What truly matters in life, career, and relationships? What values must guide decisions? Without clearly defined priorities, even diligent effort can lead to misaligned outcomes. Take the time to articulate goals and intentions in specific, actionable terms, ensuring that every decision and behavior reflects these objectives. Purpose is the compass that transforms ordinary effort into strategic, meaningful progress. Once clarity is established, examine current behaviors and routines for alignment. Identify actions that contribute directly to long-term goals and core values. Simultaneously, recognize behaviors that drain energy without producing tangible benefits. Misaligned activities often consume time and attention while creating little value. Removing or minimizing these behaviors frees capacity for purposeful effort. When actions are deliberately chosen to serve defined objectives, productivity becomes intentional rather than reactive. Prioritization is essential for alignment. Even with purpose, the sheer number of potential tasks can overwhelm focus. Not every action is equally important. Establish criteria to evaluate whether an activity advances the primary goal or supports a key value. Time and energy invested should yield proportionate impact. Otherwise, the effort becomes diluted. Purpose-driven prioritization ensures that attention is directed where it produces meaningful outcomes, reinforcing momentum toward long-term success. Intentionality enhances every action. Approaching tasks without thought or reflection leads to inefficiency and wasted effort. Each step should be consciously chosen to support a desired outcome. Begin by clearly defining the intended result before acting. For example, instead of sending emails without consideration, determine which messages directly advance objectives or strengthen relationships. Intentional action transforms routine tasks into deliberate progress, turning daily effort into measurable advancement. Reflective practice strengthens alignment over time. Regularly review actions and outcomes to ensure consistencies with purpose. Ask critical questions. Did today's choices support my long-term goals? Were any actions misaligned with my values or priorities? Reflection uncovers hidden inefficiencies and provides the opportunity for adjustment. It transforms experience into insight, reinforcing the habit of evaluating actions against purpose before proceeding. Energy management complements purposeful action. Purpose alone is insufficient if energy is wasted on low-value distractions or inconsistent effort. Allocate energy to activities that align with priorities and produce the greatest impact. Recognize periods of peak focus and direct high-effort tasks to those windows. Conversely, schedule routine or less critical work during low-energy periods. Aligning energy with purpose ensures that effort is effective, sustainable, and concentrated on high-value objectives. Decision-making frameworks aid alignment by providing a clear structure for evaluating choices. When confronted with multiple options, Assess each one against core goals and values. Decisions that support long-term objectives and reflect personal principles strengthen alignment. Decisions that deviate from purpose should be questioned or avoided. Over time, a consistent framework for decision-making reinforces habits that naturally align behavior with intention. Routine and habit formation anchor alignment in daily life. Habits automate purposeful behavior, reducing reliance on fluctuating motivation or willpower. Integrate high-value actions into predictable patterns, ensuring that alignment becomes habitual rather than dependent on conscious effort alone. For instance, dedicating the first hour of the day to strategic work or reflection embeds core purpose into the structure of daily life, reinforcing progress and reducing friction. Mindfulness enhances alignment by promoting awareness of intentions and behaviors in the present moment. Practicing mindfulness allows recognition of misaligned impulses or automatic reactions that may undermine goals. By observing thoughts, emotions, and tendencies without judgment, the mind gains control over habitual actions, enabling choice that supports purpose rather than distraction. Awareness creates the opportunity to course correct immediately, keeping behavior consistent with priorities. Accountability reinforces alignment by introducing external checks on behavior. Sharing objectives with mentors, peers, or trusted partners creates a social structure that supports purposeful action. Accountability encourages adherence to commitments, provides feedback, and highlights deviations from purpose that might otherwise go unnoticed. External reinforcement strengthens internal discipline, ensuring that choices and behaviors remain consistent with long-term objectives. Integration of values into every action ensures that alignment is not merely strategic, but also authentic. Actions disconnected from personal principles, even if productive, often lead to dissatisfaction, stress, or ethical compromise. Evaluate whether behaviors reflect the core beliefs and integrity of the individual. Purposeful action is most sustainable when it resonates with identity, ensuring that alignment produces both external results and internal fulfillment. Adaptability maintains alignment under changing circumstances. Life introduces unexpected challenges, opportunities, and constraints. Being rigid in approach without considering context can undermine effectiveness. Purpose serves as the constant, while methods remain flexible. Adjust strategies, timelines, or tactics when necessary, while ensuring that every change continues to serve the core objective. Alignment is sustained by flexibility in execution, not by inflexible adherence to methods. Learning from outcomes reinforces future alignment. Examine both successes and failures to understand how actions contributed to results. Did the behavior produce the desired effect? Were there unintended consequences that need correction? Use these insights to refine future decisions, strengthening the capacity to act purposefully. Continuous learning ensures that alignment improves over time, creating a feedback loop that accelerates growth and effectiveness. Visualization and mental rehearsal strengthen commitment to purpose. Imagine completing tasks successfully and achieving goals in vivid detail, including the sensory and emotional experience of accomplishment. Mental simulation primes the mind for action, reinforces motivation, and clarifies the path forward. When actions are rehearsed mentally with purpose, execution becomes more precise, focused, and aligned with objectives. Focus on high-leverage actions amplifies the effect of alignment. Not every task contributes equally to long-term success. Identify actions that create disproportionate impact relative to effort and prioritize them consistently. By concentrating on high-leverage activities, each day's effort produces maximum benefit, compounding toward long-term objectives. This principle ensures that alignment is both strategic and efficient, optimizing results from focused energy. Perseverance is essential for sustained alignment. Purpose provides direction, but consistent follow-through ensures progress. Daily commitment to purposeful action, even in the face of setbacks or resistance, builds momentum and resilience. Each repeated, intentional effort strengthens alignment, reinforcing the habit of making choices that consistently reflect goals and values. Persistence bridges the gap between intention and tangible achievement. Reflection, feedback, and adaptation combined with disciplined action produce alignment that is both effective and durable. Purpose transforms ordinary effort into strategic progress, ensuring that energy is invested in actions that matter most. The individual who consistently aligns behavior with clear objectives not only achieves more but develops a sense of internal coherence, confidence, and authority over their life trajectory. Practical application begins with defining the most meaningful long-term goal, articulating the underlying purpose, evaluating current behaviors for alignment, and eliminating actions that do not serve the objective. Design daily routines that embed high-value actions. Practice mindfulness to maintain focus, establish accountability mechanisms, and reflect regularly to refine strategy. Gradually, alignment becomes intuitive, habitual, and self-reinforcing, ensuring that every effort contributes directly to meaningful growth, fulfillment, and success. The act of aligning actions with clear purpose transforms life from reactive existence to deliberate progress. When intention, effort, and values converge, each step becomes a building block for larger achievement. Energy is no longer dispersed randomly, it is focused, meaningful, and measurable. The individual who masters alignment experiences efficiency, clarity, and empowerment, creating a trajectory that steadily advances towards significant, lasting objectives. Every choice becomes deliberate, every action intentional, and every day an opportunity to reinforce purpose, cultivating a life of achievement grounded in clarity, integrity, and direction. Number 9. Track progress and adjust strategies. Tracking progress and adjusting strategies is a critical practice for anyone committed to meaningful achievement. Goals alone are insufficient. Without measuring outcomes and refining approaches, effort can become misdirected, habits may stagnate, and potential growth remains unrealized. Progress tracking provides clarity, accountability, and motivation, while strategic adjustment ensures that actions remain aligned with evolving circumstances and objectives. Together, these practices create a dynamic framework where effort is optimized and results are maximized. The first step in effective tracking is establishing clear metrics. Every goal should have measurable indicators that reveal whether action is producing the intended effect. Vague aspirations, such as get better or work harder, are difficult to evaluate and easy to abandon. Define specific benchmarks that quantify achievement. For instance, if learning a new language is the objective, metrics might include the number of words mastered per week, minutes of practice logged, or completion of structured exercises. Metrics transform abstract intentions into tangible markers, providing a roadmap for assessment. Consistent documentation is essential. Tracking progress requires systematic recording of actions and outcomes. Journals, digital apps, or spreadsheets can capture daily activity, milestones, successes, and setbacks. Documentation is not merely an administrative task. It creates visibility, reinforces accountability, and transforms intangible effort into concrete evidence. When progress is visible, it fosters motivation and enables objective analysis, making it clear whether actions are producing the desired effect or if course correction is necessary. Daily reflection reinforces progress tracking by encouraging critical evaluation of actions. Each day, review what was accomplished, what was delayed, and what obstacles emerge. Identify patterns that reveal strengths, weaknesses, and recurring challenges. Reflection provides insight into the effectiveness of habits and routines, allowing intentional modifications to increase efficiency. This process transforms repetitive action into strategic learning, ensuring that effort continually advances objectives rather than merely consuming time. Adjusting strategies is inseparable from tracking. Even consistent action can fail to produce results if the approach is flawed or circumstances change. When tracking reveals gaps between effort and outcomes, strategic adjustments become necessary. This may involve reallocating time, refining methods, enhancing skills, or seeking guidance. Flexibility allows progress to remain resilient in the face of challenges, ensuring that goals are pursued intelligently rather than stubbornly adhering to ineffective tactics. Prioritization is enhanced through tracking. Not all actions contribute equally to achieving goals. By recording outcomes and evaluating impact, it becomes possible to identify high-leverage activities and focus energy where it matters most. Low-impact efforts, once revealed, can be reduced or eliminated, freeing time and attention for actions that accelerate progress. Strategic focus ensures that effort is concentrated on results rather than activity, transforming busyness into meaningful achievement. Feedback, both internal and external, is integral to refining strategies. Internal feedback comes from honest self-assessment of performance, effort, and adherence to plan. External feedback may include insights from mentors, colleagues, or data-driven evaluations. Combining both sources produces a comprehensive understanding of effectiveness. Feedback reveals blind spots, confirms successful approaches, and highlights areas requiring development. Integrating this information into strategy ensures continuous refinement and optimization of effort. Visualization strengthens the impact of tracking and adjustment. Mentally reviewing progress and imagining future milestones makes the trajectory tangible and reinforces motivation. Visualization helps identify gaps between current performance and ultimate objectives, creating a mental map for corrective action. By seeing both progress and remaining steps clearly, individuals maintain clarity, purpose, and urgency in daily action. Resilience is reinforced through structured evaluation. Tracking exposes setbacks and failures, which are inevitable in any meaningful pursuit. Recording and analyzing these moments encourages learning rather than discouragement. Each challenge becomes a data point, revealing weaknesses in approach or gaps in capability. Adjustments made in response to these insights strengthen long-term resilience, creating the capacity to persist through adversity while improving strategies continuously. Incremental improvement compounds over time. Regular tracking ensures that even small advances are recognized, reinforcing motivation and sustaining momentum. Minor adjustments based on observation and analysis accumulate, producing significant long-term impact. The combination of continuous measurement and iterative refinement enables growth to become exponential rather than sporadic or accidental. Accountability amplifies the power of progress tracking. Sharing results and insights with a trusted mentor, partner, or peer group creates external reinforcement, increasing discipline and commitment. Accountability ensures that tracking is not a passive exercise, but an active mechanism to guide behavior. The awareness that progress will be reviewed strengthens motivation and encourages consistent adherence to strategy. Data-driven decision-making enhances effectiveness. Metrics, trends, and patterns revealed through tracking provide objective evidence for refining strategies. Decisions based on observation and analysis are less susceptible to bias, emotion, or impulsive reaction. By integrating data into planning, actions are chosen based on probability of success, efficiency, and alignment with goals. Strategic adjustment becomes precise and deliberate rather than speculative. Reflection on the past informs planning for the future. Tracking progress creates a historical record of what has worked and what has not. Review this record periodically to identify strategies that consistently produce results and those that repeatedly fail. Lessons from the past become the foundation for more effective planning, ensuring that future effort is guided by evidence rather than trial and error alone. Energy management enhances the benefits of tracking and adjustment. Evaluate not only outcomes, but also the effort required for each task. Identify activities that consume disproportionate energy relative to their contribution to goals. Adjust strategies to maximize output while minimizing unnecessary expenditure. Aligning effort with purpose ensures that energy is invested efficiently, sustaining both productivity and well-being. Long-term goals are strengthened by iterative refinement. Tracking exposes misalignments between current actions and desired outcomes, providing an opportunity for course correction. By continually adjusting strategies, even slow or uneven progress accelerates over time. The cycle of observation, reflection, adjustment, and renewed action builds both competence and confidence, ensuring that long-term objectives remain achievable despite obstacles. Visualization of milestones combined with tangible tracking reinforces motivation. Seeing measurable progress, even in small increments, creates a sense of accomplishment and validates effort. This psychological reinforcement sustains commitment, especially during periods of difficulty or slow results. Each recorded success becomes a reminder that consistent effort produces tangible impact, encouraging further dedication to the process. Flexibility ensures sustainability. Life circumstances, resources, or priorities often change, requiring adaptation. Tracking provides insight into when strategies are no longer optimal, and adjustments ensure alignment remains intact. Flexibility prevents stagnation, burnout, or misallocation of effort, allowing goals to be pursued with both persistence and intelligence. The combination of monitoring and adaptation enables enduring progress despite uncertainty. Purposeful repetition strengthens mastery. Repeated evaluation, tracking, and refinement ingrain habits of observation and adaptation, making strategic adjustment second nature. The mind learns to anticipate inefficiencies, recognize patterns, and implement improvements automatically. Over time, this iterative approach cultivates both expertise and self-leadership as the individual becomes skilled in maintaining focus, adjusting methods, and optimizing outcomes continuously. Ultimately, tracking progress and adjusting strategies is a disciplined cycle that transforms intention into measurable results. It ensures that effort is not wasted, decisions are informed, and actions remain aligned with goals. Individuals who embrace this approach gain clarity, control, and momentum, turning consistent observation and refinement into tangible advancement. The process cultivates self-awareness, strategic thinking, and resilience, producing not just achievement, but mastery over the methods that lead to enduring success. Practical application begins with establishing clear, measurable goals, documenting daily actions, and recording outcomes. Review progress systematically, analyze effectiveness, identify gaps or inefficiencies, and implement targeted adjustments. Incorporate feedback, maintain flexibility, visualize milestones, and reinforce momentum through recognition of incremental success. Repeating this cycle daily transforms effort into continuous growth, ensuring that every action is deliberate, every strategy optimized, and every day contributes meaningfully toward achieving long-term objectives. Number 10. Reflect honestly, improve continuously. Honest reflection is the foundation of lasting growth. Without examining actions, choices, and outcomes with clarity and objectivity, progress becomes fragmented and often illusory. Continuous improvement requires the courage to confront mistakes, acknowledge weaknesses, and identify areas where effort has fallen short. It also demands recognition of successes and patterns of effective behavior, allowing repetition of what works. Reflection is not an abstract exercise, it is an active, deliberate process that transforms experience into insight, shaping behavior and mindset in ways that produce sustainable advancement. The first step in meaningful reflection is creating space for it. Modern life is filled with noise, obligations and distractions that prevent introspection. Dedicate a quiet, uninterrupted period each day or week to review actions, decisions, and outcomes. This environment allows thought to settle, enabling an honest assessment of performance without bias or defensiveness. It is in these moments of stillness that clarity emerges, revealing the subtle lessons that daily activity often conceals. Objectivity is critical in this process. Reflection must be grounded in truth, not filtered through ego or denial. Avoid rationalizing failures or exaggerating accomplishments. Instead, adopt a perspective that evaluates behavior and outcomes factually, asking questions such as, what worked, what hindered progress, and what could I have done differently? Honest appraisal illuminates both strengths to leverage and weaknesses to address, creating actionable insights rather than self-criticism or justification. Documenting reflections enhances clarity and ensures lessons are retained. Writing down observations, insights, and conclusions transforms fleeting thoughts into a tangible record. Journals, digital notes, or structured reflection templates allow for tracking progress over time, highlighting patterns and identifying recurring challenges. Reviewing past reflections provides perspective on how far progress has come and reveals consistent behaviors that contribute to success or stagnation. Continuous improvement requires translating reflection into action. Observations alone are insufficient. They must inform concrete steps to refine habits, strategies, and decisions. For example, noticing that procrastination reduces productivity should lead to implementation of structured routines, time blocking, or accountability measures. Recognizing that certain approaches consistently produce positive results encourages their repetition and scaling. Reflection is the mechanism, action is the engine of improvement. Emotional awareness strengthens the reflection process. Emotions provide valuable information about motivations, values, and reactions. Understanding why certain choices were made or why setbacks triggered frustration or avoidance allows for deeper insight into behavior. Emotional awareness ensures that reflection is holistic, considering not only actions and results, but also the underlying drivers that shape decisions. This understanding supports more effective adaptation and personal growth. Feedback from others amplifies the depth of reflection. Honest input from mentors, colleagues, or trusted peers offers perspectives that self-assessment alone may miss. External observation highlights blind spots, challenges assumptions, and confirms patterns observed internally. Integrating feedback with self-reflection creates a comprehensive picture of performance, producing insights that are both accurate and actionable. Small incremental changes compound over time. Continuous improvement is rarely achieved through radical transformations or sporadic effort. Instead, subtle, deliberate adjustments, applied consistently, accumulate into substantial progress. Identifying minor inefficiencies, refining techniques, or slightly modifying routines each day generates momentum that compounds across weeks and months, producing enduring results. The commitment to constant small enhancements ensures long-term advancement without relying on motivation alone. Reflection also fosters resilience. Honest evaluation exposes weaknesses and areas for growth, which can initially feel uncomfortable. Embracing these insights without defensiveness cultivates mental toughness, adaptability, and self-awareness. By confronting imperfections and learning from them, individuals develop the capacity to navigate challenges with composure, turning setbacks into opportunities for skill building rather than sources of discouragement. Strategic reflection enhances effectiveness. Not every action warrants equal analysis. Focus on decisions and behaviors that significantly impact objectives. Evaluate how resources, time, and energy were invested relative to outcomes. Determine whether priorities were correctly aligned with long-term goals and whether alternative approaches might yield better results. Strategic evaluation ensures that improvement efforts are purposeful, targeted, and capable of producing meaningful impact. Regular reflection reinforces accountability. When reflections are conducted consistently, individuals develop a heightened sense of responsibility for actions and choices. Reviewing daily performance and identifying areas for adjustment creates a feedback loop in which accountability drives refinement. This process strengthens discipline, ensuring that personal standards are maintained and that learning translates into tangible behavioral change. Mindset plays a pivotal role in continuous improvement. Adopt a perspective that values learning, adaptation, and experimentation. Failures and mistakes become data rather than judgments of character. Successes become models for replication. Viewing progress as a dynamic process rather than a fixed state enables the mind to remain open to change and responsive to feedback. This mindset transforms reflection from a passive review into an active tool for growth. Visualization strengthens improvement efforts. Mentally rehearsing future actions informed by reflection enhances performance. Imagine implementing adjusted strategies or new approaches with precision and confidence. This preparation primes behavior, reduces hesitation, and accelerates adaptation. When actions are rehearsed mentally based on insights gained from reflection, execution becomes smoother and more effective, reinforcing continuous advancement. Integration of reflection into daily life ensures consistency. Reflection should not be confined to rare occasions. It becomes most powerful when habitual. Incorporate short periods of evaluation after significant tasks or at the end of each day. This routine allows for immediate insight into recent behavior and enables prompt adjustment, preventing repeated errors and reinforcing continuous learning. Habitual reflection transforms awareness into action without relying on sporadic effort. Adaptation ensures relevance in a changing environment. Conditions, priorities, and challenges evolve constantly. Continuous improvement demands that strategies, routines, and goals are reassessed in response to new information or circumstances. Reflection provides the mechanism for evaluating the fit between current methods and evolving contexts. Adaptation ensures that progress remains aligned with objectives even as external or internal variables shift. Celebrating progress reinforces the reflection process. Acknowledging advancements, even incremental, strengthens motivation and provides confirmation that effort produces results. Recognition of improvement sustains engagement, encourages further reflection, and validates the strategies implemented. Celebrating progress transforms reflection from critique into a balanced practice that includes recognition of achievement alongside analysis of opportunities for growth. Long-term mastery emerges from repetition of reflection and refinement. Each cycle of assessment, insight, and adjustment builds competence, Awareness and effectiveness. Continuous improvement is cumulative. Small refinements today create larger advantages tomorrow. Over time, this discipline cycle produces skill, resilience, and adaptability that are difficult to achieve through effort alone, creating a trajectory of consistent advancement in both personal and professional life. Practical application begins with establishing a structured approach to reflection. Set aside dedicated time, document insights, evaluate actions objectively, and identify areas for adjustment. Incorporate emotional awareness, external feedback, and strategic focus to deepen understanding. Convert observations into specific, measurable actions, and integrate them into daily routines. Monitor outcomes, refine approaches, and repeat the cycle consistently. Over time, this practice cultivates mastery, ensuring that growth is not sporadic, but deliberate, sustained, and accelerating. Honest reflection, coupled with continuous improvement, transforms the individual from reactive to proactive, from inconsistent to deliberate. It creates a framework where experience, insight, and action converge, producing behavior that is increasingly effective, intentional, and aligned with long-term objectives. By embracing discomfort, acknowledging both strengths and weaknesses, and committing to persistent refinement, individuals cultivate the ability to evolve constantly, unlocking potential that grows with every observation, every adjustment, and every deliberate step forward.